Hey everybody, I'm Katie Arroyo.
And I'm Laura Manasowicz.
And this is
Pinky
Pinky Promise, a podcast about growing up. So normally we have comedians come on and tell us like wacky, awkward tales, but we have an actual like classy guest. So I hope none of our past guests listen. No, but we have Candy Washington, and she is a writer, content creator, executive producer. You like sent me your intro of your accomplishments, and I was just like, it's 17 pages long, and I was like, this is amazing. You just do everything. So, Candy Washington, hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Good. I can't wait. So you guys, listeners, know by now, we let everybody kind of choose their own topics if they have something that really speaks to them. And this week, Candy actually said she was going to talk about the first time she discovered she was pretty. And I sent that message to Laura, like the topic to Laura, and I was like, we got to come up with like what our experiences are around that. And both Laura and I were both like, yeah, still waiting.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Okay, it'll happen right now. If you haven't realized it, you're both gorgeous, pretty, immaculate, divine, female power. Beyonce, come to us.
We really just had Candy on to like inspire us.
That's right. We're like, first one of 2021, perfect.
Affirmation. I am gorgeous. I am gorgeous. Meditate on it. All right.
It's so exciting. Because usually, like Katie said, we have people who are like, here's a time where I deeply embarrassed myself, and then we all like have a little shame Zoom triangle together, and we're like, yeah. So it'll be really great to talk ourselves up.
To have like a positive experience from growing up.
I'm a big fan of like the Zooms improve my appearance slidey scale. So it'll be nice to bring that to my real life, I think.
That's awesome. So, Candy, how did it happen? How old were you?
Oh, okay, so let's jump in.
Yeah.
Had to be it was in middle school, and let me preface this. Growing up, I grew up in upstate New York, in Syracuse. It's a city, but it's really not.
That's where I'm from.
No way!
Yeah, that's so funny.
Nottingham?
I'm from Cicero, so like outside of Syracuse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good outside. Yeah, so I went to H.W. Smith, and then I went to Levy, then I went to Nottingham.
Okay, yeah.
It's so I'm upstate New York, so it's a city, but it's really not. It's really small, kind of town. It's more of a town.
Yeah.
It's a town.
Yeah.
No, it's a town. So I grew up in the same bubble of, 10 to 15 friends that we all had, but I was painfully shy. Really, really shy, super, super quiet. I guess I was in like the cool, popular crowd, but not that I had any like understanding of what that was at the time.
Like you didn't fully appreciate it. You were just
I was like, we're just hanging out, man. No big deal. Let's go to like a keg party. Like it's cool. But at the same time, we still got like straight A's and we're like dorky and geeky and fun. Like we like played hard, but we weren't trying to. So it's kind of like that group. And so, but I was painfully shy, super, super quiet. At home, I was very like loud and rambunctious and just like doing crazy stuff and like performing for my family and like doing like crazy things. It was like two different people. Like at home, I was like completely like in my element, self-actualized, just having fun. And then when I get to school, I'd be like, hi, my name is Candy. The answer is privacy. Like I was just like very, very introverted and just very, very quiet and a little meek. So then went to grade school with like the same kids, and then when we got to middle school, it was like, oh, the kids from Ed Smith came over, and those were the other cool kids. So then when we got there, we're like, who's gonna join the group? Who's not gonna join the group? And there was like this whole new group of like cool guys that were there. And it was like Adam and Brian and Dan and look,
always an Adam and a Brian, always.
Dan D and Dan H, like it was crazy.
There's always so many Dans.
Yeah, and like it was like 5 mics. Like
there's always 5 mics.
And so yeah, so we got there, and then like the guys started like talking to me and like hanging out with me, and they like calling on like the phone and like all this like crazy stuff, and I was just like, oh, look at all these friends, like yeah. So then we started having like dances and stuff, and it's like, oh, like we all want to like dance with you, and then like all this crazy stuff. And they started playing like spin the bottle, and I was like, why am I getting all this attention? Like I had like no idea. Like I was like, do you want me to like read my poetry to you? Like that was like the wave I was on.
Yeah.
And then I had this conversation with one of the Bryans, and he was just like, oh, he's like, you have like a nice butt, and I was like, what? Like I was this was like pre-Kardashian.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
You know what was going on, and I was just like, I do? Like I'm so confused. Like these are from like Abercrombie. Like I had no idea, you know, like what was going on.
He was like an early appreciator of the butt.
He was really appreciative of
A real pioneer.
a true pioneer. And so then then it just dawned on me. I was like, these guys like me. Oh, don't. And I
So
was like,
did you have a crush on any of them, or were you like, look at the, like, did you not even think about that?
oh, I had a crush on this one guy all throughout like elementary school, and then when I got to middle school, I had a crush on another guy like all throughout like that
Yeah.
span.
You're
So
a monogamous crusher.
yeah, pretty much. So I had these crushes, but I didn't equate like attraction, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, these guys are cool. Let me read my poems. And they're like, you have a nice butt. And I was like,
Like, we're not the same.
And so I was like, oh my God. I was like, these guys are like attracted to me. I'm like, but I'm not, in my mind, I'm like, why? Like, I like don't get it. Cause I never considered myself like, I don't think I ever really thought about it. I didn't think I was ugly, but I didn't think I was pretty. Like it didn't like occur to me that there were like different categories, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess to me, I think it's incredible that you've had this discovery in middle school where I think it is the hardest to survive. And you're like, I don't want to stand out for good or bad. I want to blend and exist. So for you to be like, oh, they like my butt in middle school is like outrage. That's like incredible to me.
So was your family
8th grade?
like
8th grade. Okay.
That's the time. That's when everyone's the ugliest. Maybe like 7th. But did your family not talk, like, you know how some of my friends' moms, I remember one time I was like eating half of a grapefruit and she was like, ooh, you guys better not have a snack because you don't want to get chunky. And I remember like I was a 00 and I was like, I'm eating a grapefruit. And my friend was like thinner than I was. And I remember just thinking like, oh wow, some people's moms are like, that's like a pressure that their moms put on them from a very young age to like be pretty. And that's like where your value comes from. So like in your household, was that something that you guys talked about? Like was being pretty something that your parents talked to you about, or was it just like not even part of?
No, there wasn't an emphasis on being pretty in my household. It was definitely more of an emphasis on being a good person.
Yeah.
So it was really about like, you know, treat people the way you want to be treated, you know, be an honest person, be a good hard worker, and and like be happy and enjoy your life and really let it come from like the inside.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably why I had to disconnect from it, because it was never really top of mind. But there was definitely some like I think it happens like always with like women in the family. Well, they'll be more so, I think in my family it was more so they would be self-deprecating when it came to it, and so I would just pick that up because as a child you model behavior. So they would be like, oh, my thighs are so big. So it's like at home, everyone's like, we don't want big thighs. Then at school, Brian's like, you have a nice butt. And I'm like, huh? Like,
you're like, wait, which one is it?
What is it? You know, and it's so funny because that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes the things that we hate about ourselves or dislike are what other people love and like want. Right. So it's just a reminder just to like love who you are, like regardless of anybody else's opinion, whether it's good or bad. You just love you, like you just love you love yourself. And I definitely remember like at school it was like cool to be anorexic.
Yeah,
like,
for us too.
It was like trendy. Like,
yeah.
Like, oh my God, we're not gonna eat lunch today. Like we were like dumb, stupid girls who thought it was like
Cool.
thing to be anorexic when it's actually like a true like disorder and all these other things that come to it. So we were like trendy anorexic.
Yeah, no, we had some girls that definitely fell into that, and then I got lucky that like my group of girlfriends were very much like, oh, that's weird because we just hike all day and then eat entire pizzas. Like, what are you talking about? But I specifically remember, like, I don't know what occurred, like what video it was or what song it was, but I like remember the day that my friend and I were like, oh my God, J-Lo and Beyonce are like a thing. And we were like, and their bodies, like their butts look like our butts. Like we were like, oh, okay. Like thick girls are getting appreciation. I remember us being like, yeah, this is our time. Because like we would not have made it in Kate Moss time.
Representation matters.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
It is so true. Like representation, it definitely matters. And like same, I feel like I saw some Beyonce video like that, and she just had this fully formed body that was strong.
Yeah.
That's the adjectives. Yep.
That was what the thing was. It wasn't this sort of like faux Kardashian bubble.
Yeah, like Kate, what can that body do?
It wasn't 3D printed. It was made. You know.
Made, yeah. And it was, and I think what came across to me with the like with particularly with Beyonce was she just had this strong body. And so since I've seen her, like now the relationship I have with my own body, I never want it to be thin or big. I just want healthy and strong in the highest version of myself. And like that's really what like the mantra I use when I have that relationship with my body, because that's really what it's about. Like, how do you feel about you? It's not so much about like the number on the scale. It's not so much about like even celebrities or whoever. It's just, how do you feel about yourself?
Yeah.
And it also goes back to when I learned that I was pretty or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever the hell that means. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not like a fruit or an animal, but I'm a person. It goes back to that, where it's just like it really came from the inside. It was a nice to get this like external appreciation, but it was a bigger reminder to be pretty here, because that is what trumps everything else. And it's true, you can see someone and you can be like, oh my God, that person's so attractive, and they open their mouth and they become the ugliest person. Or you can see someone who might not be conventionally attractive and you have a conversation with them and you're like deeply attracted to them. So it's really about what is like the content of your character, what is your essence, what are you bringing to the table beyond some visual aesthetic. I think that's a really good reminder. But it was nice to like have a cute little butt.
Yes.
Yeah, the butt boost is really nice. You're like, this one? This butt?
Oh,
it's nice to have. Speaking of butts, so I come from a long line of butts. My mom, this is a true story, and it's still true to this day. My mom's butt, it's like, so her back goes like this, and then it's like a shelf, and then we used to put things on top of her butt.
We used to do that. Yeah, when I was my butt is like definitely turned more normal. Like the older I get, it turns more into like it's just a regular old butt. But I remember being like 14, 15, but I guess probably like a little bit younger, like 13, 14. And I remember like thinking, I think I told my dad, I was like, something's wrong with my back, because I was like, my back pushes in so much, and then my butt would come out, and I was like, I think like I don't think it's supposed to do that. And he was like, nah, he goes, you're good. It's like I don't
appreciate that.
Oh, Katie, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, he was like, no, it's good.
At one point, I would call it my top butt. Well, the top butt's struggling with the pants, but like overall, we're good. Like it's not so bad. I feel like in school, I was like, I could hang because I knew I was funny, and so like I had friends. I didn't often feel like alone, but I feel like my personality got me in with pretty pretty kids, and so I could like hang, but I would be like, when you can't keep the conversation going anymore, like I'll pick it up, but then you gotta let me stand next to you, and we'll work together. um, and then as I got, because I just always feel like something that I think I've talked about before is like, I mean, I thought I was fat my whole life. We're not out of it, but specifically when I was a kid, because my friends were all really small, most of them, and so and I just was like, well, it's obviously a me problem. It's whatever. And now I like look at a prom picture or look at a picture from high school or whatever. I'm like, oh, that kid thought she was fat. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like what? Where? And it wasn't that really like anybody. One person in 5th grade made a nasty joke about me, but like I don't
Like
remember
a boy?
it.
Yeah.
No, a girl. It was a
Oh,
girl
really?
who I can like now understand was like in a low social status and was like trying to assimilate, and like I can see exactly what she was doing and I understand why, but I'm like, cut me to the core and I'll be mad for the rest of my life. But
it's trauma to the grave.
That's right. That's right. I'm like, oh, can I repeat it verbatim? Of course I can. But so it was like it's all me.
You're like taking that and shoving it in the butt.
That's right. It's going in my top butt. But then I'm like, I also grew up reading Teen, YM, all of the magazines, and I feel like it's only until recently where we like where we talked about representation matters, where you can say like bodies are beautiful regardless of what they look like, and now you can back that up with
actual
media, with pictures, with models who have body fat on them, because we've been saying like everyone is beautiful, and you're like, okay, but then how come I only see someone who's 5'9" and
with middle blonde hair,
pounds,
like not even dark brown or
yeah. So I don't know. Oh, we could talk about bodies forever.
Well, it's funny you said that. I went to buy some toys this Christmas season, and I was buying a doll for a Latina girl, and I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, I went and I yelled, like, I looked down the aisle and I go, what the fuck? I was like, all these dolls are just like muddy brown hair, and then there's 2 blondes, and there's 1 ginger thrown in for fun. And I go, and 1 black girl. And then there was a black woman next to me, and she goes, don't even get me started on how there's no light-skinned girls. And I go, what is this? And my boyfriend was just like, I'm going to leave you two to it. I was like, this is so irritating. I'm like, nah. I go, and also, there's 1 doll that has dark brown hair, and I go, and she has the ugly pilot outfit on. I was so irritated. So I was like, it still needs, like, we still have to trickle some more in there, but it's getting there. Like, there's 1 doll.
Yeah, more variety. I have a funny doll story. It's a little different, but my sister got my niece this like set of dolls. I forget the name. It's like not the Bratz, but like some cool doll thing.
Yeah.
And one of the dolls has like my blonde hair and like my skin tone, and my niece is 5, 6. No, she's 6 now. And she goes, this is over FaceTime. She goes, Auntie Candy, I got a doll, and it's you. Aww. And she put it up, and I was like, oh. And I was like, what's the name of the doll? She goes, The Boss. And I was like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, but that's good. Yeah, I was like, it's getting better, but
a beat. She goes, The Boss.
You're like, perfect. Like, we're teaching her young.
Exactly. Didn't miss a beat. Did not miss a beat.
It's necessary. So for every 4 Brians, there should be at least 3 The Bosses. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
Brian,
they are. Yeah. So did you, like, once you got that attention, did you did you do anything with it, or were you just kind of like, oh, and then I don't know what to do with this? Or
I think, it was actually weird because there became like the little tiffs and like my girl group.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
More of the attention from the guys, and I started getting into more tips with like my girlfriends, and I'm just like, what is the problem? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't want Mike H. You can have like it's fine. And so, so I didn't really know what to do with it. I was kind of like, because like, yes, like I was like pretty, and I was like doing, and I was like, you know, I had like my reading and like my books and like my writing and stuff. So, and it wasn't that it was low self-esteem, but it was no sense of esteem. So I didn't really know what to do with it. So I wasn't walking around school like bow down to my body.
Have you seen my butt?
Worship my butt, everyone. So it wasn't this like ego. It wasn't sort of this sort of like, I'm so pretty, like all worship me. It was more of like like I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't really think anything of it. But it was a good lesson to learn about managing like my girl friendships after that, because that definitely got a little catty, got a little oh, like you're talking to him, but like I like him and he's my guy and blah blah blah. And so I learned to sort of like manage those relationships a little bit better. A little bit more open communication, because I think with girls we definitely be like, oh well, like Beth is only talking to Maureen and Maureen's only talking to Louisa and Louisa's only talking to Candy and Candy's not talking to Beth, so blah 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 blah. So it kind of was a good indication of how to keep it separate. Like now I only talk to maybe like one or two of my good girlfriends about a guy if I'm like dating a guy, and then the rest I'm like, we're good, we're cool, and I keep it like super separate. And then when some like of my girlfriends will be like, oh, I want to tell you about my guy, I'm like, well, do you want actual feedback or do you just want me to listen? Because if you want my honest opinion, I will give it to you. You might not like it. So you let me know, like you manage the expectation. Do you want actual feedback on this dude? Or do you just want me to listen and nod and be like, okay.
He sounds great.
And I can do either. Either is fine.
Either. But as good as I can dish it, I can take it. So sometimes I'm like, I'm just telling you this. I don't want any guidance. Let me just get off my chest.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm like, okay, like, what do you think I should do? Like, bring me back to the ground. So it was a good lesson on like communication and healthy boundaries.
Yeah. I agree. Did you find like, because I feel like there's a thing with like everybody has their cross that they bear or whatever, but with women who are very attractive, I feel like any conversation that you have with a guy is sometimes judged by other women in a way where you're like you're on the prowl, you know what I mean? Or they're like if you're like the frumpy friend, they're like, oh yeah, you could sleep in the same bed as my boyfriend. But like if it was like if you're not the frumpy friend, they're like, why did you sit next to him in the car?
Yeah. Why are you looking at him so hard? In my peripheral, like shut up. No, totally. So I went to one of my friend's weddings who was a guy, and at the time I was single, and for whatever reason, and this was like, I only knew a couple of like our friends, and the rest was just like the bride's party or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were so super catty. Like even the bride was giving me like heat, and I'm like, sweetheart, I don't want her man. I'm so, we don't even live in the same state. I'm so confused. Nice to meet you. Like, I'm like, what? But yeah, like you get it a lot. You get like, because I think when you look a certain way, people will look at you and they think they know everything there is to know about you before you even like open your mouth. And it's regardless of how you look, whether people think you're pretty, they think you're not attractive, whatever it is, people will just look at you and, you know, it's prejudice. They will prejudge just based on that. And it also goes with men where it's like, no, I'm not flirting with you if I'm laughing at your joke, or if I'm talking to you, like maybe I just thought you were funny and we're having a conversation, or no, this is actually like a business meeting and like not a date. And that's a big thing. So like I live in Los Angeles and I work in entertainment. I do a lot of creative stuff. So a lot of times I'll go on different meetings. I always have to be very mindful of that, which is a big pain in the butt. Men don't really have to worry about it. But as women, we definitely have to, where it's, I don't ever want to come across as if I'm flirting with someone, or I never want them to think that, you know, grabbing drinks or getting a coffee is a date, when it's like, no, I'm like, buy my script, like, let's do this, like, make me be a writer on this thing, like, da-da-da-da-da, like, oh, you know this person, I'm trying to do like a networking thing. I'm not trying to sleep with you. This is not a date. So it's really hard to keep those lines clear, because a guy sometimes, and like, maybe I'm wrong to think this, maybe this isn't true, but from my own personal experience, I have found that if a guy is attracted to you and you pay him attention, therefore he thinks that attention is flirting. But if he is not attracted to you and you pay him attention, he thinks it's just business, a conversation, a normal day. You know what I mean? So he's not actually taking into account what
anything you're doing.
The reality, he's not taking into account the reality of the situation. He's projecting his own feeling onto the situation. So sometimes it's really clear, and you're like, well, I don't want to burn this bridge, but at the same time, like, we're not hooking up, homeboy. No.
And now the role of doing the mental gymnastics to figure out how he's interpreting your interaction falls on you. How fun.
I have to do everything here.
You're like, it's quite a pitch that
Should I apologize? I'll throw one in just so we're clear.
Just in case.
Clear. Yeah. God forbid there's physical contact.
I mean, those days I think are behind us. I'm like, I'll never shake a hand. It'll probably be 5 years before I shake a hand again. And even then, I hope it just falls by the wayside.
It's insane. Yeah.
So did you notice, like, did you have any female friendships that struggled, like, once you kind of hit that peak of, like, kind of basically, like, once you went through puberty essentially and kind of like developed into more of a woman, like, did you notice that so there were some female friendships that struggled, or were you guys able to, like, be okay?
I think in the end we were able to be okay, but for a while there were definitely some that struggled. Like, I know one in particular, I won't say her name, but let's just call her M. So M and I were really close, but I didn't realize, like, there was, like, levels where she wanted to be, like, the alpha girl. She wanted to be, like, the queen bee. And I think once I started to, like, come out of my shell more and became more social, and, like, I was always, like, social, but, like, talking more and, like, talking to the guys and stuff, I think she felt that, like, that status was, like, a bit threatened. I was trying to be a queen bee, like, no thank you, ma'am, like, I'm over here, I'm a butterfly, so, like, you have bees. You know, so that struggled for a bit, but I think now that we've all, like, have obviously, like, moved on and we've all gone to college and, like, our own different ways, and we're all, like, grown up a bit, I think now everything is always, like, good and copacetic, but there are definitely some friendships. But I also think beyond, like, and now, like, in adulthood, one thing that I really look for in friends is women who are really secure in themselves in all aspects of their lives, because it's not just, like, looks. Like, if someone is, like, I think the most dangerous friend to have is the friend that will be your friend as long as you're doing not better than them. So you can be doing well, just not better than they are. And those are the most dangerous types of friends, because, like, you never really see them coming, and they're the ones that will flip on you in, like, a second.
Yeah.
Like, the ones who are shady, you're like, yeah, I know she's shady, I'm not telling her anything, I don't trust her, whatever. And then you have the ones that are, like, your ride or dies, and, like, you guys are just, like, good, like, soul sisters. But the ones who are, like, snipers on the side, who are like, oh yeah, we're cool, we're good. Oh wait, you just booked that. Oh wait, your boyfriend did that for you. Oh wait, you just moved here. Then it's just like,
like, you want that celebration, and they're like, oh no, actually.
Like, no, you have to be careful for the ones who can't celebrate with you, but they love to, like, revel in the demise or like, drama. You have to be careful with that. I had this one friend that I actually stopped being friends with in 2020, who she, like, the guy that I'm currently seeing had gotten me this really cute gift, just, like, as a surprise gift. And I showed it to her. I was like, oh, look what he got me, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I want a gift. And I was like,
filed away. Got it.
Yeah.
Flag. I was like, you don't want to get from my man. Like, you can't get your gift.
Is that what she meant? Like, did she literally mean from?
I don't think she literally.
She just meant, like, from a guy. Yeah.
But the instinct was the involuntary instinct was to attack rather than wow.
Oh, that's so great, and like all this other stuff. And I was like, And
Yeah.
then all the little things with like pepper in, and you're just like, I would just rather.
Yeah,
not.
it's like they'll be proud of you as long as it's below where they consider themselves at. But
100%.
once it's
Past
once they
that.
think that hierarchy has shifted,
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, great.
Because the friendship is rooted in ego rather than rooted in like an authentic friendship of like, I want us both to grow together and help each other and support each other through the ebbs and flows of our lives, rather than voting ego where it's like, oh yeah, well, as long as you're down here and I feel like I'm doing better than you here, then yeah, of course I'll be your friend because it makes me feel better about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, if your friendship is based on what can you do for me, there's only so far it can go. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I've noticed through my life that I have had some friends where I'm like, I know there's some friends that like if things are going bad, I know to call them because they like revel in that, and not even in a nasty way. Like they'll be like, oh, I'll help you. I'll do this, and this. And so like you have your bad time friends and you're like, they love when you're having bad time. Like they're like, I'll help you pack. We'll get you out of this. Like da 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 da. Like whatever it is. And then, but if you have something good, it's like, oh, I know that I can tell those people, but I'm not going to get that, like the reaction that I'm looking for by sharing that good news. I know it'll just be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We were sort of having this conversation about, I think it was like social media based, but Katie and I and another friend of ours were talking about how like what people choose to put online,
share,
basically, and share, and it was like, if I did something great or funny or whatever, yes, I want the whole world to praise me with attention. Thank you so much. But if I'm having a problem in a relationship or a job or a life crisis, like I'm calling Katie or our other friend, and I need them to pick up the phone and listen to me cry, and like that's who needs to know about that. But exactly, like who to me, it's very important to know exactly who to call, who can help you the way that you need it.
Yeah.
And if it's like, let me cry, great. And if it's like, tell me what I need to hear, I'm calling Katie. If I
was
need tough love, I'm
literally
calling
going to
Katie.
be like, I'm the friend. The bad
And
news friend, me.
It's knowing who are your safe people.
Mhm.
Knowing
this
is a safe person to be like truthful with, to be vulnerable with. This is a person who's gonna, keep my secrets, who's gonna really support me, who's not gonna let me like wallow, but they'll walk me through it. Like, who is that safe person?
Yeah, I think it's very like I think most people in my social circle like have a list of people that are like, I think this person's very cool and funny. I would never tell them a secret. Absolutely not.
You have your associates, and then you have like your friends. The lanes.
Yes. Or I have some friends that I'm like, I need this information disseminated, so I'm gonna tell them.
Soldiers, absolutely.
You're like, keep this to yourself.
The huge hasn't come out yet. Exactly.
Don't tell anyone, but
hasn't come out yet.
And then you just like put your phone next to you and wait.
It is funny. It's funny as an adult. I feel like as a kid, those things are so like hurtful to you, and then the more you grow, you just realize like, oh, that's coming from that person because of whatever they're going through. So you like, you don't need to like make space for it in your life unless you can deal with it. But I found that I'm like, well, I don't need to like remove them from my life, but like I know where they are, like I know where they fit. So I'm like, we can have fun and go out and whatever, but like you're not gonna be the person I call for this.
You don't get my emotional energy.
I'm
not thinking hard about this.
But like when you're a kid, that feels so much bigger. I feel like as a kid, you expect everyone to be that type of friend for you, and then it's like heartbreaking when they're not. Like you're like, what do you mean you're not happy about this? Or like, what do you mean you don't think my butt is cool? Like,
well, when you're a kid, it's like you have to give everyone in the class a Valentine because that's the thing to do. And then you grow up and you're like, not everyone needs one of my fucking Valentines. I'm giving my Valentines to the people I love.
It's just funny. But I feel like, Candy, you're so like you're so grounded and Yeah, like even your social media presence is like so intentional, and it like creates a space of like wanting to share, and like your like social media presence feels like a safe space. So like I am just picture like as a kid, I'm like, I feel like it would be hard to hate her. Like you would just be like, oh, it's even worse because also she's nice. Like,
Oh, I think that's what it was. I think that's exactly what it was. Just like, oh wait, you're pretty and nice.
like, damn it.
Well, and admirably, pretty was never your like top goal, and was
Yeah.
not the most interesting thing about you. It's not the only
Yeah.
thing that you are, and so that just like lets you be a great whole person.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I still don't think of myself that way, if that makes sense. Like I still don't, like I'll do a picture or I'll do something and I'm just like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I'll see a picture of myself, but I'm like, who's that girl?
Yeah, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And my mom used to say this all the time. She goes, Candy, people just love to look at you. And she was right. Like we would go to like we go to Wegmans, you know.
Yeah,
We love
yeah.
Wegmans.
Shout out to Wegmans.
Shout out Wegmans. We go to the mall. We'd hang out. And it's true. People, it's still to this day, I don't know what it is. Makeup on, no makeup on. People they like to look at me. And I don't even think it's like a sexual thing. I just think it's just like they just like to look at me. I don't know. They like looking at me. It's true. Sometimes it's awkward, but I've gotten used to it. I just don't even like.
Doesn't phase you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have a really funny story though. Okay, so this had to be like sophomore year in college, maybe junior year, and like me and one of my like best friends to this day, we were hanging out, we were probably like little tips, kind of like a party or whatever, and we were kind of talking about this, and we were talking about how like people, like you were saying, like my space is safe. People also just love to tell me things.
Yeah.
They just unload, like it's just come to
Yeah.
And so people, they'll tell me all these, like, whatever. Anyway, so we're walking down the street, and this guy who's across the street, he has to be wasted too. At least I hope he was, but whatever. So he's walking this way. Me and my friend are walking this way, and he yells at me. He goes, "Girl, where your titties at?"
Oh my god!
Out of it. And I was like, I left them in my other dress.
Isn't that crazy what men think is like okay to yell at people like straight?
I wasn't even mad at him. I thought it was
so funny. Yeah.
My friend cracked up to this day. We still laugh. We'll be like, yo, Katie, where you do that?
Listen, it's an honest enough question.
He's just asking the important question.
At the time, I was a little fly. I had it all in the back, nothing in the front.
Like, they're in my great butt. Have you seen it?
You will in a minute once I walk by.
I'm in the trunk. Yeah, it was just so funny. Girl, where you titties at?
I've got a friend who's got, she says she has resting nice face, and she really does. Like, she's got a great face, and she's just like, it's exhausting. Like, people just want to tell me things, and listen, I'm happy to help, but sometimes I can't listen. I can't listen to it all. And I'm like, I don't think I have that problem. My face turns on and off.
I think empathic. She's probably an empath.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Just stuck in all over the
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. My titties still aren't there, but it's okay.
Well, there's still time.
They're growing in a
You
little
still
bit.
have that butt. I think you'll be okay.
I'm not as flat. Like they're growing a scotch. I got something going on now, like a little bit more womanly. But
You're like, I'm doing something with something.
I was in New York years ago, and I was walking to a class, and just a man very similar to the "where your titties at" man was like, "Girl," very similar start. Could have been the same guy. He was like,
probably was.
saw my butt and was like, "You a Kardashian?" And I was like, I mean, we know I'm not. And like, I'm mostly trained not to respond to men on the street who talk to me, but sometimes it's so absurd. And I was like, no. And he was like, yes, you are. And I was like, all right, well, goodbye. Thank you.
Like,
yeah.
Originally.
Yeah. We don't know what they look like.
No, come on. They swear they haven't had any work done. It's gotta be
It is funny. Yeah. it is funny to see. That is a funny, like, when you see that, you're like, oh, I could be like really, really hot. Like, if I just put a little bit of effort in.
I was watching
Credit card.
yes.
Just swipe.
Yes.
Change everything.
Yeah, you're like, oh, like that face was like fine before, but like,
I was watching an old Drag Race, and I forgot, one of the celebrity judges was like complimenting one of the queens, who's just, I mean, body is like unreal, and she's like, you make me want to like work out, and she was like, no, just go to the doctor. I was like, oh, that's so real. You can just
don't waste your time.
Yeah, exercise your credit card, like you said, and the body of your dreams.
That's so funny.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
So Candy, where can people find you? And also, like, tell us a little bit about your projects, because you have like 100 million projects.
Tell us all the things.
Yeah. Okay. You guys can find me at candywashington.com, and you'll find all my projects there. You can join me on Instagram at Candy Washington, and that's the same for my Twitter and Facebook. Everything's just at Candy Washington. To recap everything I do, so I founded 1214 Media Productions, and underneath that, we do podcast production. So I have a podcast. It's called Sugar Pills, a practical guide to self-care. And that's weekly insights on how to level up your self-love, self-worth, and step into the most highest empowered version of yourself. And you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and I just got onto iHeartRadio.
Oh, nice.
So excited about that. So you guys can now find me at iHeartRadio.
That's awesome.
Pills podcast, practical self-care. We produced a film. It's called Narcissist, and that's available on Amazon Prime Video and on SoFi TV. And that's all about what the effects of social media has on the mental health of their influencers and the followers. It's a psychological thriller. It's really cool. It's really fun. You can go find that on Amazon Prime. And again, that's Narcissist. And then we've also done 4 books. The first one is Sugar Pills, 10 Days to Awaken Your Inner Power. And that's about just being a creative professional and not losing your sense of self while looking for your success. And then there's also the Entrepreneur's Guide to Personal Branding. There's a short story called The Third, and then our novel, which is called Triggered, came out, and that's another psychological thriller about when codependency turns deadly.
Ooh.
It's like The Devil's Row Prada meets Gone Girl.
I was just gonna say it was
great. Okay.
Yeah, so that's called Triggered, and that's out everywhere. And then what else? I think those are like the big ones. But yeah,
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna look at all of them.
I'm gonna buy Laura all the books for Christmas.
I just upped my Goodreads challenge this year, so bring them on.
I'm ready. And guys, we will put all of the links for all of those things in the show notes, so you guys can just click there and you can get right to it. But you could also just check out candywashington.com. And lastly, please subscribe, please like. We got some more reviews in. Those give Laura all the happiness in the world. So
and I love feeling happy. So
she needs to make up for what that bitch said in 5th grade. If we could just get that like and follow and some reviews, we would love you guys forever. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much, Candy. That was
Thank you, Candy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.